I'm sitting here listening to what I think are elk off in the distance, trying to eke a last cup of coffee out of my fuel. It's pretty much done. Those isobutane canisters don't react the best to cold weather. Generally, if I'm in the snow and I'm using that instead of white gas, I'll have it inside the sleeping bag, just because when they're warmer, they work a little better. That one's kind of on the dregs, so I'll be able to get my coffee, but yeah, I'm going to need a new one when I go into town. You might wonder why I'm not already in town. It's because I had to have coffee before I get moving. And I'm way more productive here as far as the videos and everything. Generally, once I get into town, there's so much to do, talking to Jen, everything like that. It's hard to catch up. So I'm just finishing up the edits for the last couple of days. Okay. Unfortunately, it looks like that bitterly cold wind is back again. I could hear hooves moving around me a few times last night, and elk were bugling again this morning. But again, can't seem to pick it up on the phone. So I'm hoping to be in town midday, get something to eat, go to the hotel. I'll probably take it easy today and just eat, because if I go into resupply right now, it's going to be a bloodbath of candy and such. And then early tomorrow morning, go over resupply, repack, and see if I can't get a ride back out to the trailhead. Basically after the 11 o'clock checkout. Jen did some research on hotels last night and booked me at a place. While it's not as bad as many of the Colorado towns, it's still over $100. So if I can keep it to one night, that would be ideal. While I am obviously in far better shape time-wise than I was last year, you never know when winter's gonna hit. There are about 70 some miles left of Colorado, and then I hear the northern part of New Mexico. You're also in some rugged mountains. Once I get down partway through the state, then it's going to be back to desert hiking, and it's just hopping water source to water source. Rumor has it the water sources down there may be kind of problematic, especially in some of those red line sections that don't get a lot of traffic because people are shortcutting them with road walks and things. But always something, right? Has been kind of odd out here starting out, and yet kind of being in that later in the season mindset of I've been out a long time and I'm starting to get worn down. But hey, I knew I was starting in one of the hardest sections of the CDT, and that should be mostly behind me now. Obviously there will be a lot of challenges, but at least I have that. The far out guide for the CDT is a little bit different than the PCT and the AT. There they generally mark not all the campsites, but a lot of the campsites. Here it's pretty rare to actually see the tent icon. People leave comments, but the effect is you end up with a lot more dispersed camping, people actually off in the bushes and not in the same, overly concentrated sites like you'll see. The PCT or the AT is basically just a constant conga line of overly developed sites. Due to the tent I have, the Nemo Hornet, I can set up pretty much anywhere. It's a pretty narrow tent, plenty of space for me and my pack side by side, but it will fit in a lot of slots where the times I'm with Jen and we have one of the wider tents, I'm like, oh man, if only I had my Hornet. I've been doing this long enough, I generally have some inkling of, oh, hey, over there, that looks like it's going to flatten out. You look in saddles on ridges where they're flat. Big challenge has actually more been just all the dead trees. Like this is more live trees than I've seen for a good long while with all the beetle kill, because there's always a danger those are going to come down on you. Often the ground is not perfectly flat, or it is lumpy or things like that. Personally, I find I can deal with that. I actually prefer to have my head slanted up just a bit, not enough where my sleeping pad is sliding all around, but enough where if it rains, I don't have to worry about water pooling under me. For an example of why that can be a good habit to be in, see, the AT and that whole rain incident in Cape G where it kind of saved us. As far as the lumpy ground, I think I actually have an advantage because I am generally a side sleeper. So I can kind of work in between the lumps. And since I am solo in my tent and it is wider than I need, I can basically get in, put down my foam air mattress, which does convey through some of the lumps and things like that. It's not like when I have my tensor air mattress and I can just set it up on anything and never feel it, at least until it starts leaking. But I can kind of work it back and forth and find kind of a path through the lumps that works for me. The trick for me is finding places where I'm not going to make a huge impact. In places like the Sierra Nevada, where you get all these alpine meadows, setting up on the grass can actually, kill the grass. And it's all about camping in durable ground. If you're at lower altitudes, see like the Florida Trail, you can camp pretty much anywhere you want. If you can kill the various weed grasses down there, they'd probably be very grateful for you. One of the reasons I actually enjoy desert hiking is there's usually unlimited tent spots pretty much everywhere. So out here I'm looking for non-rocky areas, relatively flat, not too close to water. You don't want to camp right by a stream for LNT reasons, and ideally not someplace somebody badly tried to dig a cat hole. I love local day hikers because they usually want to hear about my hike, and the one thing that any thru hiker wants to talk about is their hike, and they can sometimes give you recommendations for local Mexican food. Apparently Kips is the thing in Pagosa. Part of why I waited to go in a little later is that first meal after you've been out for, a good long section is really, really, really enjoyable. And personally, I would rather have Mexican food than breakfast menu. Hey, there's my road. Normally I'd be talking about the stench of civilization, but I think my stench pretty much overwhelms anything comparable in town. Trail has gotten significantly mellower since somewhere around Piedra. Which, believe me, I am okay with. Man, if I'd known there was going to be a full-on 5G tower over here, I would have come to this side of the peak last night. I was trying to make do with just a single bar. Last little bit before the road. When I come back, I'm going to be going up the ski slopes for a while, so looks like I'm going to get a nice heavy water carry out of it. And here we go. Feels like this has been a long time coming. Oh, no luck so far. The preacher had been out to the AT and seen that...
They got all kinds of stuff in there if you need anything.
Okay, so this is the main part of town.
This is downtown, and you go like...
Somebody sent me to a Mexican food restaurant, but there was a line out the door. I'm too hungry for that, so I'm gonna go to Benny's. There are few things as satisfying as finally getting in and getting some real food after days and days and days of hobbling up all those hills while starving. And now, having exhausted Uber or taxi, I'm trying to hitch across town. Also, I think I found one of the fires, huh? Fortunately, after just a couple of minutes, I was able to get a ride from another local who dropped me across town in Uptown, where Jen had booked me at the West End Lodge. And at long last,